Hi, everyone, and welcome. I know life gets super busy for all of us. I first and foremost want to thank everyone that's coming on and watching me at Shift Happens here. This is a space that I basically created for real stories, okay, meaningful change, and the transformations that we experience in our lives. So basically, let me just go into my first guest. He is a certified holistic health coach, a functional breathwork facilitator, a creator of Healthy Blueprint, which is just helping humans get healthy, right? I'd like to welcome, and I'm very honored you're on board and made the time to come on. I'd like to welcome Gareth Grundlingh. Welcome to Shift Happens. Thank you.
Thank you, Aisha.
So, I want you to first go ahead and tell me about you. Because when we have crossed paths, which was not too long ago, there was energy, but it was diminished. And I'm like, he seems very interesting, but I didn't want to go too far to get to know you. But I'm like, over time, I'll figure out because I started following you on Instagram. Then I started learning more about what you're doing. And as you know, and you were there as well, we were not too long ago, we attended Xenos together. And this is probably my 5th wellness event. And I've kind of dove in because I'm all about now learning how to live better, how to eat better, gut, breathe. This is all new, and I'm from US. So I'm taking this information that I'm gathering over these conferences for the past 5 years and taking it home with me to start talking about it. Because besides Mind Valley in California, which is concentrated just in California, I kind of want it to spread over US because US is pretty not doing so well health-wise. So when we met, I didn't get to know too much about you, but when I started following you and learning more about you and everything you're doing, it's amazing. So why don't you tell me first who you are, why you started this, and what led you to even go into this path?
Well, again, thank you so much
You're
for
welcome.
having me on. I really appreciate it, and it's an honor to be your first guest.
Thank you.
And I wish you all the best in these endeavors moving forward.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
More about myself, Gareth Grundlingh. I suppose growing up in South Africa shaped me in a very big way. I was born just before the apartheid ended. That was obviously a very tumultuous time for South Africa. So it feels like I've inherited a lot of that shift that was happening for South Africa. And that has brought with it a lot of work to be done, which I'm very grateful that I've been introduced to and surrounded by some incredible humans and practitioners and therapists that have helped me on this path. And then, of course, every so often, God himself will send you angels.
Yes.
So that's a small brief about me. Just 3 years ago, very gratefully, I embraced Islam.
Alhamdulillah.
I think that's
Yeah.
probably, that's become an instrumental piece of who I am. I can't imagine life without Islam at this point, and sometimes I look back and think, how did I ever get through life without it? So alhamdulillah, in this sense, I feel extremely blessed and grateful. And even in this regard, or particularly in this regard, there has been angels that have helped me on the path. And at the end of the day, I believe that my purpose is to help the world come closer to God through good health.
Alhamdulillah. Wow.
I can't sit in front of you and say that I'm a scholar who knows everything or can quote the hadith or Quran, but I do know that human beings can have 1,000 problems until they have one problem. And that one particular problem which can rule over everything is their health.
Yes.
In my journey, I've learned that your health is incomplete if you do not have a spiritual element to it.
100%. Yes.
And so what was my initial thoughts around health being just physical, I then slowly started to learn that there is also a mental emotional aspect, and then most recently is the spiritual aspect.
That's beautiful. Oh my God. So the thrust of your inner core is coming out through your spiritual connection with Allah Ta'ala, and it's showing on your actions of how you want to spread health across mankind. That's beautiful. I'm going to go backwards a little bit, okay? And basically, before you accepted Islam, Tell me a little bit about your South Africa
Mm.
family,
Mm.
siblings. What did you do as a childhood? Did you like as a child growing up? What can you remember that kind of inspired you to go towards this path? If not, that's fine. But
Mm.
I kind of want to know you from ground up.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Wonderful.
know who Gareth is,
Yes,
right?
yes. So, interestingly enough, my mother played a very instrumental part in me taking this path of health.
Okay.
When I was about 10 years old, I never assumed my mother to be overweight, but she wanted to do this program, which was a weight loss program. And I remember very vividly that period of her life was one of the best that I ever got to experience, because week by week, when she was on this program, she was getting great results and she was losing weight. And that really opened my eyes up in a very positive light to the importance of good health. I'm very grateful. In addition to that, my mother's sister, she, for the longest time, has owned just a little small health and wellness shop where she sells really some supplements and some herbs. And for the longest time, we've been visiting her every so often to pick up those little supplements. The basic stuff like omega-3s. When I was much younger, she would give me electrolytes because I was playing a lot of sports. And that was really a foundational piece of my education towards the knowledge about health. Combined with every month you would buy the Men's Health magazine and then see this new type of workout and see this new article or new studies being spoken about L-glutamine or creatine, and I would slowly build up knowledge on these particular topics, knowledge on nutrition, hydration, sleep, all of the above.
Wow, okay.
Piece by piece, that grew into me wanting to be a health practitioner of sorts, which started as a functional fitness coach through CrossFit. And once I reached a point where I was satisfied from CrossFit and the knowledge that I had acquired, I then moved towards holistic health as a whole, which is through the Czech Institute. And that is how I've come to be a holistic health practitioner through the Czech Institute. So that was the side which was health. From my father's side, I'm very, very lucky because he has installed, unbeknownst to himself, but he's installed in me what really have been some of the cornerstones of Islam and my spiritual growth. And from the youngest age, one of the very, very important teachings from my father is that you never hit a woman, right? You never hit a woman, and you always protect a woman if you see that she's in trouble. And he always had this devotion towards protecting women and towards treating women as the highest calling. And of course, the Western world actually speaks quite badly about Islam in this regard, but if you read deeply and you understand the true essence of Islam, you know, the woman, and particularly the mother, is the absolute top of the sphere, and rightfully so. The other important lesson which my father taught me that I think made it very easy for me to embrace Islam, when I first asked him who is God or what is God or tell me more about God, his answer to me, which might not be the typical answer from someone who is theoretically a Christian, his answer to me is, I don't know everything about God, but I know that there's only one God. And of course, we know La ilaha illallah.
Right.
So that was his very first sentence he ever told me about God. And when I started speaking to righteous, pious people who embody the essence of Islam and the message of the Prophet ﷺ, it was very clear to me there is only one God. And so it was very easy for me to then start asking the next question and finding out the next thing.
So you were curious,
yes,
basically.
I was always curious. I slept my entire life with a Bible at my bedside. I sadly struggled to ever get into the Bible, and I almost never attended church.
So excuse me, can I ask you why you had a preconceived notion about, about not diving into the Bible and learning about the Bible? Was it something you learned or saw about Christianity or the Bible that you already formed an opinion, which didn't allow you to open it?
Yeah, interesting enough, my father never pushed religion on us. And so I think I've attended church 3 times in my life. None of those times were with my parents. And the first time ever was actually in Italy. So I didn't understand a single thing other than the word Dios.
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But I thoroughly enjoy going into churches because I can feel a very spiritual
Right.
power and
Yes.
presence
Right.
within the church. But no, there was no preconceived notions. I never had a connection, particularly
Okay.
with the Bible. You know, I always knew and felt that there was something greater. And there have been many periods throughout my life where I tried to pray
Mm-hmm.
prior to Islam, but there was nothing that ever grabbed me or connected me to that form of prayer. And then eventually, alhamdulillah, when I did come to Islam, prayer became a shape-shifting event in my life and has continued to be. So it's not that there was anything I had against Christianity.
Of course not. Right. Okay. So it wasn't.
It was simply this unbelievable and undeniable connection to Islam that made it very
So
clear.
it was
and
extremely
obvious.
impactful for you.
Yes, instrumental.
That is amazing to hear. Your connection in Salah, in your prayers, the 5 that you do, in your connection with food, because food is very important when Rasulullah Sallam's food intake, like, for example, black seeds, okay, ginger, garlic, all the things that are what at his time was utilized. Okay, those are mentioned in the Quran where things are miraculous and they are so beneficial. What's your take on all those basic ingredients that our Prophet at his time, during the Sunnah time, used? Expand on the ingredients for me.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned a few of them, something like habbasu, the black seed. Nowadays, there's this big craze around antioxidants. But this tiny little powerful seed has been here for 1,447 years.
Oh, okay.
Right? And it is one of the strongest antioxidants on the face of the planet. Right? And that was recommended to us back then.
Right.
Right? And people of the Sunnah have been following that and including that, and there's incredible benefits to that. But one of my other personal favorites is honey.
Yes.
Right? And that is in part because I have a sweet tooth and I always mix my tea with honey. But honey is just one of the most incredible superfoods.
Yes.
That has somehow gone under the radar. Perhaps it's not very marketable or it's just this mass-produced product. But if you have high-quality honey on a daily basis, I like to have it on an empty stomach. It's really one of the most incredible things for helping cleaning up your gut, for the long stem of benefits that accrue to anyone consistently taking in honey. That is something that I really, really do love. And having a glass of tea or a cup of tea has become such a beautiful spiritual experience because of the honey that goes with it. If I shift slightly, another piece of the Sunnah from a health perspective, which I've really enjoyed and I've encouraged a lot of my clientele to try, and they've had good results, is hijama.
Hijama, yes. I just did that in Saudi for the first time. I tried it.
Yes. Yeah.
So
in the West, obviously, dry cupping it's a known thing, and it's a sensation. I remember some years back it caught a lot of traction because Michael Phelps was swimming with a whole bunch of these cup marks on his back, and everyone said, "What's that?"
Right.
Again, this has been encouraged
For years.
for over 1,000 years.
Right.
Right, and the idea behind hijama, firstly, is that you would do it around certain times of the month, which coordinates with the sun and the moon, the shams and the qamar, right? But we actually take out what is the harmful blood. And in doing so, the body then gets a signal to rejuvenate new blood. And almost every time I do hijama, my energy
Changes.
is better, my sleep is better, the clarity of thought is better, my breathing is better. So this is another simple example of really the way of the Sunnah as it correlates to our health physically, and then of course mentally, emotionally and spiritually, which has endless benefits.
100%. Now in prayers, salah, the prostration, the sujood, doing those movements. There's yoga out there, right? So I was just speaking to one of my speakers earlier this week, and he's a yoga master.
Mm-hmm.
So, and he's Muslim.
Mm-hmm.
So I did bring that question up,
Mm-hmm.
and there's so many benefits in the movements we do in
Mm-hmm.
our prayers.
Mm-hmm.
Can you expand your
Mm-hmm.
perspective on those movements?
Let me tell you my personal experience with prayer. When I first came to Islam, the first 3 months were incredibly painful because all of a sudden I was praying 5 times a day,
Wow.
going through these movements, and I thought I was a strong, fit, physical person. And these simple movements 5 times a day for 17 rak'ah, if you're not doing any sunnah, made a huge difference in my body. I was not used to going down and waiting. I was not used to the coming up. I was not used to going all the way down to sujood and then sitting back on my heels. I mean, it was very, very painful. However, once that pain eased,
Mm-hmm.
as it says, إِنَّمَا الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا, once that pain eased,
Right.
everything started to fall into place. I've had pains in my body from years of playing sports and imbalances that I've accrued that physiotherapists, yoga instructors, biokineticists, all of these people couldn't fix. And when I started praying,
Alhamdulillah, I can't believe this is so nice you're sharing this,
When
because I
I
want my
started
audience to
praying,
hear this. Yes.
these pains disappeared from my body. I mean, completely disappeared.
That's amazing.
So that was just the physical part,
Yeah.
right? Not to mention the mental part, which is having consistency and showing up 5 times a day,
Huge.
right? We're living in a world where many human beings can't put together 10 days in a row of anything.
True. Yeah.
Right?
100%. Yeah.
All of a sudden, Islam has built in that you need to show up 5 times a day to do something which is actually there to disconnect you
From the world.
from the dunya
Yeah.
and reconnect you
With-
to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala,
Right.
right? So that meditative state that comes with prayer has taken my emotional state from anxious and erratic,
Two.
calm and collected.
Alhamdulillah. That's so true. When you have, especially when you have presence in your prayers,
Mm-hmm.
people are sometimes distracted in their prayers, but
Mhm.
it's that true commitment when you have that lifeline to have that connection with Allah Ta'ala, that you have it, your opportunity is sitting right there.
Mhm.
And there's so many ways people, shaitan, what are distractions that happen. So it's very hard to achieve that presence, you know, and like you said, we disconnect from the dunya, and it's every day to check in with Allah, and Allah's like, what do you want? Talk to me. And this is our only, and you know, people realize it at a young age, middle age, late age. Some people don't ever recognize the encompassing power of it. And your journey, when I started following you and everything that you've been doing, and I'm like, this is amazing, because I know a lot of people on your path or trying to be on your path or have been discouraged, right? So it's very pleasant for me to hear your experience, because we're sharing it. Your thing about going into back to food, I've seen that you've given up certain things. For example, dairy, gluten. How has that changed you? Tremendous sugar, tremendously, right?
Tremendous.
But how isn't it difficult to just stop doing that? Because I'm right now in the process of trying to pull back on sugar, because I just want to get. I'm at this point. I need to make all these adjustments, not just because I'm coming into the wellness. I'm learning for myself, but every day I just want to be breathing better, living better, eating right, which I didn't focus because it was all about doing for others. So I'm in that mode now. What's your take on it? Like, how difficult was it to give up? Was it 2 weeks and then you had this feeling like, oh my God, this is so hard to do? You know, because dairy and sugar and gluten are in everything, like literally.
Look, I must thank you for bringing this up, because it's a very important topic and people need to know. Yes, you need to make a conscious decision to stay away from these things. And yes, you need to make a conscious decision to work towards your goals and to make sure that your actions are aligned towards that. And I guarantee you that improved health will always help you achieve whatever the goal it is you want to achieve. However, don't for one moment think, for most of the lay people, that you can just say, oh, I'm going to stop sugar and then it's done. I still have sugar. Sometimes I will consciously choose to eat ice cream just because I love that. And I mean, ice cream is about as bad as it gets, right? There's dairy, there's sugar. Heaven knows there might even be gluten in some of these products. But when you do cut these things out, and I like to take people through what is a period of whole foods only, starting with 30 days, and then we start to build up thereafter, people have incredible changes. I'm not just talking about physical. Right? I'm talking about people being more creative. I'm talking about people having better relationships. I'm talking about
it's clarity, right?
Yes.
It's what you put in that you gives your whole body that fuel to think clearer.
100%. So if you're constantly putting in inflammatory stuff,
right?
If you're constantly putting in junk, you will get junk out. All of this stuff that comes to us in processed, packaged goods, it is disrupting our energy field. It is ruining our vibration and our frequency, right? Energy is information. If you break the word down, is to be in formation. When we put in junk
in our bodies, yes. No, 100%.
we are no longer, like right down to the cellular and the mitochondrial level, we are disrupting what we are able to be as human beings. And this, in my head, is the process of devolution.
Okay.
Which is the opposite of evolution. And if I tie that back to where I started, this is a long-term game. Don't just think that you're going to say, I'm stopping sugar, dairy, and gluten and grains, and that's it. No. Evolution is the incremental process of improvement. Incremental means tick, 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 tick,
right,
tick.
Slowly.
It's not just...
Incremental, yes.
Yes.
Wow, that's a huge commitment. I think under the country I'm in U.S., our system is ruined, health-wise, and it's like screaming for help now. And that's why I'm like, okay, I'm going to make first a change for myself, my lifestyle, my habit, and then I can go tell my family and friends this is what I've done. But it's so alarming how our system doesn't teach healthiness from a young age. We're lucky. Like my mom, she used to cook whole foods from scratch, everything. We never ate processed food. Did it stick with me? Unfortunately, no. I did cook, but I did also give a lot of processed food to my children. And now I look back, like I wish I could turn the clock back and just teach those early habits of how to eat properly. Because at the end of the day, like you just mentioned, and I've heard before, it's what goes in our mouth that sustains our body, because Allah gave us our body for amanat, right? We are supposed to take care of it. So when we allow these inflammatory products coming in, we're destructing our own body, right? So my thing is, gosh, I wish I depended on government, media, schools. They don't teach you. So it's in a chaotic state what our country is going through. It's alarming. Besides like California and a couple other states, everybody's across the board sick. That's why I feel whenever I do come abroad, I travel out here, just the quality of the food is amazing, okay? Like literally you eat fresh, you eat clean, and you feel a world of a difference just by what's not in your foods here, because we have horrible things that are built into our foods. So I don't know how many years it's going to take to resolve this, but...
I don't know either, but I think it's important to note throughout the West, it's important for the layperson to understand that there is an industry which is working for profit. And that industry coincides between big food or big sugar. I'm not going to mention
Sugar's like
names.
Cocaine. Literally, it's crack. Everyone's addicted to it.
Yes, it's worse. It's worse. It's more addictive than cocaine and heroin.
Wow.
Right? So understand that there's an industry behind big food and big sugar and big agriculture. And this industry works hand in hand with big pharma.
Right, 100% right.
Because the people who eat all the junk from big sugar and big food and big ad land up needing all the junk from Big Pharma.
Right.
What we have is a disease maintenance industry. These companies cannot exist if we are healthy.
100% right.
Right.
There, it stops for them, right?
And if you very simply look to, for example, the work of Weston A. Price, which, as far as I'm concerned, is the most conclusive text when it comes to nutrition and physical degeneration. That's the name of the book, right? He traveled all over the world looking at native tribes, right? Because he was a dentist, and what he saw is that everyone in the West was getting absolutely wrecked from the mouth down,
Wow.
and as well as the head. And when he went out to these native tribes, what he found is that people had perfect teeth, they didn't have cavities, they were also not at alarming rates of autism, they were also not at more deformation in the physical structure, they were also not dying as young
Yes,
and
right.
living as badly as the people in the West, all as a contribution towards the nutrition and the lifestyle which they lived. And these people lived off whole foods, fresh, organic, local, and seasonal where possible, right? And all throughout the world, even though there were different foods being eaten by the natives, there was a parallel and a pattern that these people were significantly healthier than the people from their tribes who had gone to the West.
Right.
Something very interesting, which he also noted, is that the vast majority of these tribes also had a connection to a spiritual power, to a higher power, right? These people also had a much more physical life. They were not living 12 hours of their days sitting down in chairs.
Right.
So the combination of this all is what allowed many of these people to live very long, healthy, and happy lives.
Right. For example, the blue zones.
100%.
That's what they do over there, you
Yeah.
know, and they're living past 100. When I realized that you are an advocate of grounding. I've heard many things about grounding. I've seen it actually work on people. The connection with nature, the connection with what Allah created for nature, for all of us to ground. Grounding and eating is it. It probably could cure everything across the board. And I truly believe in the wellness community. You know, I'm going to these conferences and I'm learning everything. I'm like a sponge. I'm like, this is interesting. But that I know some basics. And I'm like, grounding. And, you know, it's made complicated, but it's so simple. I was going through something and I had anxiety through the roof. And guess what? I was advised to go walk on sand. You know, things like go walk on grass. You know, I didn't do barefoot when I was growing up because my parents would be like, put some shoes on. But there's so much beneficial, you know, ground, sand, grass, you know.
Seawater.
There's so many benefits, but it's not being advocated. Even in the wellness community right now, I'm not seeing grounding. But I did notice that you are an advocate of grounding and you talk about it. So what is your vision on how grounding will be in the next 5-6 years? Do you think it's going to become front and center, more paid attention? There's documentaries all over to show how successful it is. You in the wellness community yourself, what do you see happening with grounding?
Look, I certainly hope that it becomes more and more and more prevalent, because whilst I'm not per se a general practitioner or doctor, and I don't know all of the literature behind grounding, and I suspect perhaps that literature would be dumbed down, I myself, in my own personal experience and my professional experience with clients, have seen people cure or get over very intense flus by going to sit on grass in the sun and just loathe around for an hour. I've seen people, and I've seen it in myself many times over, going to the beach and spending time in the ocean, coming back feeling like a different human being. What's actually happening? I can't tell you exactly what it is, but I can tell you with certainty that I feel better when I do it.
Yeah, it's the magnetic field,
Mm-hmm.
to connect
Mhm.
with Earth and the core that recharges our bodies. Yeah, no, that's something that I feel is so beneficial. I have a lot of family in medical situations, and when I bring up stuff, they're like, "Mom," or "What are you talking about?" Because they're taught, the system is taught a certain way of medicine. Advocates of big pharma, this is what you got to push. If now there's a lot of integrative doctors that I am aware of, and there's some of my friends, and I'm happy to see that the U.S. is bringing integrative and holistic functional medicine in, which is going to now sweep U.S. because U.S. is calling for so much intervention right now. So those are the specialists that are changing their outlook. It's not just about, hey, let's push pills. If we have to put you on medication, we will, but that's not what the preferred method is.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see that grounding, functional medicine, holistic foods, that, these are the new trend setters of like what's going to be coming in the next 5-6 years.
One example that, again, from a very practical perspective, I put a lot of weight and give a lot of value to. If you look at when the Northern Hemisphere goes into winter, there is an increase in divorces. There is an increase in suicides, right? There are increases in almost every metric for the negative. Because it is darker, you have to spend more time indoors.
Right.
When it comes to summer, there is a statistical decrease, in other words, improvement across the board, because people are able to go outside, see the blue sky, walk on green grass. And again, I can't provide an academic paper to you showing that, but that is lived experience that I have myself experienced, and I have heard from dozens of people.
I'm a testament
Exactly.
myself. My blood pressure was high, and my fiance at that time, he said, go sit outside, go put your feet on the grass. And I just looked at him like, what are you talking about? Because he was the one that introduced me to grounding. And literally, I kid you not, 20 minutes later, my blood pressure came down by just sitting outside and putting my feet on the grass. So I'm watching him ground, I'm grounding, and it's like a whole new thing. But I want to spread the word about it, and share that with people. Another situation where you can go into is breathing. Allah has given us the miraculous to breathe through our nose, right? And this is it, because this is going to be our end of life situation. You do breath work. You have taught many people on how to do it. What is your basic methodology on breath work?
Look, I'll start by saying this to quote or paraphrase one of my great mentors, Gary Brecker. Right, he says, the absence of oxygen is the absence of life. Right? And so one step further to that, I would also add, I think it was Tony Robbins who said, control your breath, control your life. Forgive me if I'm misquoting. And once I started hearing all of these really well-to-do, well-informed people speaking about this, I actually grew up with a deviated septum. And so for most of my life, I couldn't breathe through my nose. I was breathing through my mouth. That meant disrupted sleep.
Right.
That meant chronic inflammation. That meant more colds, more flus. I went through autoimmune issues. And I was never able to piece together that this is actually directly correlated to the fact that I'm breathing through my mouth and not through my nose.
So can I ask you, when you figured out you had a deviated septum, did you get something to clear it and fix it? Because I had the same issue, and I have a counter effect where I'm a little bit feeling more like I can't breathe, even after that. So, I just talked to somebody else that does breath work, and she was telling me, Aisha, you have to breathe through you got to do that. I can't do it. I'm clogged. And that's why I'm asking about these strips now, because breath work, if you're already struggling after a deviated septum surgery or whatever, and you still can't breathe, they, the medicine over there is going to be like, okay, let's go in and carve some more cartilage out. Again, under the knife.
Yes.
What would you recommend with somebody that has difficulty breathing through their nose? Are you encouraging, okay, breathe through your mouth? Or it is a primary part of the breath work is the nose,
Yes.
nasal.
Well, first and foremost, if we get down to the very basic anatomy of it, the primary function of the nose is to breathe.
Right.
If you look at every animal in nature, when they are in harmony, they're breathing through their nose. In nature, there's also no dentists, but none of these animals need dentists. All of them have perfect jaw lines, and unless they start eating the food that humans give them,
Right.
they don't have problems with their mouth. So breathing through the nose ensures that you can keep your tongue on the roof of your mouth, which then also puts your jaw, the temporomandibular joint, which is arguably the most important joint in the body because it's the only joint and bone structure that's protecting your brain other than your skull,
Wow. Okay.
right? So when you're breathing through the nose, not through the mouth, you can keep your tongue in the correct position. That improves your jaw position. That helps improve your posture from your cervical spine all the way down to the sacral spine.
Mm-hmm.
If all of these things are in line and in the place that they're supposed to be, the chances of us being in pain or getting injured are significantly reduced, right?
Mm-hmm.
In addition to that, when we're breathing through the nose, we're actually sending a message to the brain that we are safe. So breathing through the nose activates the parasympathetic nervous system. And this is all very basic and layperson, but it activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which tells our brain, I'm safe, you can rest, you can digest. When we breathe through the mouth, which the mouth, as a matter of fact, was primarily created and designed to be for consumption and communication, right?
Mm-hmm.
Both of which most human beings do excessive amounts of,
Right. Right.
right? The mouth breathing is a backup mechanism,
Back up. Yes.
and it is there to activate the sympathetic nervous system, which, if you go back 1,000 years ago, was very important and very necessary, because if I'm sitting here with my tribe and all of a sudden a bear or a lion or whatever it is, a saber-toothed tiger,
Mm-hmm.
comes to attack us, you better activate your sympathetic nervous system, which is fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Because either you need to fight to the death or you need to run and escape to the death,
Right. Right.
right? Sprinters don't breathe through their nose. It's counterintuitive. Sprinters need to be in the sympathetic nervous system. It is the most sympathetic thing a human being can do. Long distance runners don't breathe through their mouth because it's very inefficient.
Okay.
If you watch Eliud Kipchoge when he broke the 2-hour marathon, he breathes constantly through his nose, and he actually tries to be in a smiling position, which will help his nasal breathing pathway even more, right? Because if you have very good breath,
Mm-hmm.
your body is able to transport energy significantly better, right? As opposed to being in that parasympathetic state. So your body will be able to keep its heart rate down, your body will be able to function across the board better,
Right.
relative to being in that fight or flight state, which is only useful for shorter durations of time.
That's very interesting. Let me jump back to another basic need, water. Okay, let me touch on, since we both are aware of Zamzam water. Give us your perspective, your experience with Zamzam, and how you view it. Explain to my audience what Zamzam is, because it will be an audience that won't even know what it is. Water is an essential need. What do you feel like? We're not going back in history to figure out how, what, all that. We know as people in the faith, we know in Islam what Zamzam is. The Islamic characteristics of the benefits of Zamzam. Let me know.
Look, Zamzam, we know, was a well that came to us as something that is eternal and something that was actually a complete miracle,
Yes.
right? Forgive me because I don't know the names of the characters perfectly, but a mother was running between two mountains looking for water for her child.
Right. Safa Marwa, back
Yes,
and forth.
Safa Marwa,
Right.
right? And that's when Allah opened up this well, and to say Zamzam actually means stop, because it was overflowing.
Flowing, right.
There was too much water. right? And that, to this day, this is more than 1,400 years later,
Right.
is
It's
still flowing.
running, right.
Now, I think the Japanese scientist who worked with water, specifically with water, right, and he got right down to the molecular structure of the water, he found that the water with the perfect structure was Zamzam. And this is a person who would take water that was high quality, and he would add frequencies to it to find the best structure of water.
Wow.
When he
okay.
tested Zamzam, he found that Zamzam was the perfect structure. So this is a water that when it's coming into our body is, again, it is restoring us to a state of harmony.
Perfect
Right.
balance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this is a water that is able to help the human body return to harmony and to balance, to eliminate whatever disruption is going on within our system. I personally try my best to avoid fluoride and chloride, which very sadly are injected into the majority of water bottles that not so coincidentally come to us in plastic, which is another bunch of
Oh.
trouble that causes issues for humans because of xenoestrogens and hormones get disrupted. So when we drink Zamzam, we're actually having a very healing effect.
Process, right.
We are actually hydrating our body. I have this saying, hydrate the hustle,
Okay.
because we're always on the go. So when we're drinking that, we're actually helping ourselves. When we're drinking common water, which is really, really sad, most of that is not even going into our body. This is juvenile water. It's devoid of nutrition. Water is supposed to be full of nutrition because it comes from the ground, right? There's a lot of water that's going through terrible
Processes, right. To take out all
literal
the healthy.
sewage water
Yeah.
that will get processed and then re-injected perhaps with this or that, and then put into plastic and fed to us. And this is personally one of the biggest and most, it is one of the most common patterns that I see in people, is that they're chronically dehydrated. They don't drink enough. And in addition to that, to make matters worse, they don't drink high quality artisan water.
Your healthy plan, the guide, the map,
The
what you
healthy
have created.
blueprint.
Let's go through the blueprint.
Yes.
Let me know.
I mean, we start with setting goals, getting clear on our objectives, and that is not just, I want to lose 10 kgs. I want to know with my clients, what do you want to do in your lifetime? What's the big goal? Not something you've achieved before. What's the thing that you really want to do?
What if somebody doesn't know?
Okay, thank you for asking. So if you don't know what your dream is,
Right.
I'm going to ask you, what's your nightmare? Because most people know what their nightmare is.
Right.
So
True.
you can list your nightmare for me, 1, 2, 3, and your dream is the opposite of that. Right? Many people go through this process where they don't know what their dream really is. And so I let them sit with their nightmare and sit with that pain. And then through time, they start to find out what they truly want. And then staying connected to that and aligning all your actions to that is really the process. So once we get through that, we go into nutrition. Then it's hydration, and then it's sleep. We start with those three because that is how we bring energy in to our body. Think yin and yang.
Right.
Right? We're bringing energy in, and these are actually feminine energies. We're not supposed to eat like wild people.
Right.
We're not supposed
You're not
to
supposed
gulp.
to eat and full. You're not supposed to
Exactly.
eat at the full level.
Right? The sleep is one of the greatest miracles that was ever given to us. Firstly, it's free, right? But sleep is actually an anabolic activity. So when I go to the gym, I'm breaking down muscle. When I sleep, I'm recovering and
Regenerating
repairing
your
and
muscle, yeah.
building. Exactly.
Right.
So we focus on those three at first. Most people have huge improvements. I mean, lose 10 kgs, 15 kgs, 20 kgs, just by getting that in line, right?
So it's disruption that you're aligning to
100%.
put on that.
So we get nutrition, hydration, sleep in order, and then we move to moving, thinking, and breathing, right? A lot of people say to me, is breathing and moving not the same thing? Because breathing is a movement, but
Right.
breathing is so important because it has not only physical, but mental and emotional and perhaps even spiritual benefits that attached to it. Breathing is also the movement we do the most of, right?
Constant.
No one does anything more than they breathe other
right.
than think.
Yeah.
Right, so on average, we're breathing 25,900 times a day. That is a
Wow.
tremendously large number.
Right.
That's because we're generally over-breathing. We're generally breathing through our mouth, and we're also shallow in our breathing. This creates a large knock-on effect because our diaphragm becomes trapped. The diaphragm is supposed to move. A healthy diaphragm can move 10 centimeters up and down. Most people are breathing constantly in their chest, and the diaphragm becomes locked. So the diaphragm then starts to work as not in its primary objective or its primary action, which is breathing, and it starts to work as a spinal stabilizer. When we breathe correctly, with correct mechanics, the diaphragm will be moving up and down. That helps our inner unit function properly. The inner unit consists of the diaphragm, the transverse abdominis, which is our deepest layer of our abdominis, which is way more important than the surface layer, which is the rectus abdominis, which really doesn't do much other than look good, right? The third piece of our inner unit is the pelvic floor, which is the bridge between the bottom and the top of the body, and that's a massive group of muscles. And then the fourth most important piece would be the multifidus, which is really the workhorse muscles of the spine. So when these muscles are working correctly, we have optimal core function, we have good posture, and we have musculoskeletal balance. This is all as a result and byproduct of breathing correctly.
Wow, I had no idea. I'm learning.
Thereafter, of course, as I mentioned, the breath has the ability to help our brain. It has the ability to change our state. When someone can't sleep, when someone is anxious, all I need to do is make them breathe through their nose and lengthen their exhales. Once a human being can do that for a period of 10 to 15 minutes, their entire state is changed.
Wow.
Movement, of course, is instrumental because after breathing, ideally, we're going to get 10,000 steps a day, right? We should be physically active. Again, look at our ancestors. They were not sitting in chairs.
No, they were so active.
Nowadays, it's hard. You need to make a concerted effort to get 10,000 steps. If you're walking around town all day, or if you're herding sheep, you're going to accumulate 20, 30,000 steps a day. And that's going to make you very strong.
Right.
Like just walking and being on your feet. Most human beings can't do that. So movement is important. Of course, we can get into the functional patterns within movement that every human being functions in and needs to be able to function in order to make sure that there's no pain within their body. But then, of course, there's the ocean, which is thinking, psychology, right? And this we know. I mean, there's a range of how many thoughts a human being has a day, and the vast majority of them are negative.
You know, you touched on that, and it's so interesting you're bringing this up because I just read a Harvard study the other day saying the mind, if you just start talking positively to yourself, how many benefits that is. And I don't think people are aware because everyone's so caught in the flux of anxiety, stress, and this. Just talking to yourself and putting the effort of saying sentences, I'm this, I'm, you know, it just makes a significant difference. And that was just in a study that I just read the other day. So what you're saying, that's amazing. So no, that I think I covered basically all my questions of what were the basics.
Yes.
And that's why I wanted you on, is to explain the basics, not just to me, but then to my audience as well. So, you know, I truly believe wellness and healing is a process, but now we have access to people like yourselves that are certified and knowledgeable, that can spread the word, that can, you know, put your purpose out there is to heal. And you know, kudos to you for what your work is and in. We need more people like you.
Thank you.
In our country as well, to come advocate and come talk about this. You know, I truly believe wellness should be accessible to everybody, overall humanity, because that's what Allah Ta'ala, it's all a creation. Right now, we're going through the changes. And hopefully you will be one of the trailblazers.
I hope so.
In bringing that, because that's what you told me, what your intent was.
Yes.
So again, I want to thank you, Gareth, for coming on. I know your time was valuable, and for you just to come on like this, I appreciate that. And I wish you all the success.
Aisha, thank you. I really appreciate it. And if I can say, it's, in the beginning of the conversation, you alluded to we had a very short time together when we first met. But it was very clear and obvious to me that I was in the presence of a wise woman and someone who has done their work and someone who has been through the hero's journey. And as a man who endeavors to embody the sacred masculine, there is nothing greater than being in the presence of the divine feminine.
Oh my God. Thank you so much. What a beautiful compliment. I really appreciate that.
I really, really do appreciate it, because I'm able to be myself in your presence, and people might not know this is really just like the third time we've ever got to speak to each other.
Right.
And as a fellow deep soul whom I recently met, he was asked, how long have you known Gareth? And he said, in depth and in soul, an eternity. But in the dunya, just 2 weeks.
Wow.
And so I feel like
I
feel like I have this connection with you, and I'm very grateful for that, alhamdulillah. And if anything, I would say it is because you are in your divine feminine, and I truly appreciate that.
Oh
and
my
the
God,
world
thank you. What a
needs-
beautiful...
The world needs more of that.
Oh, no, I appreciate you with those kind words. And again, I wish you well moving forward. You have access to, a woman in the U.S. now. So when you need stuff done and you need wellness, we're going to bring you out, because I'm aligning people to bring the message over there, because we are in need. So thank you. Thank you, everybody. Please follow me on Shift Happens by Aisha Khan. I am going to be bringing great segments from wonderful people like Gareth. Like I said, I'm going to be launching out of Dubai. It is happening. It's happening before I take off. And I'm blessed to be around all these great people. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you.